Wow, where are we today, Madam Mayor? Looks like we have quite the creature here.
Today we are at the Alaska Native Heritage Center. I
Oh,
can say that.
so we're going to learn about Alaskan Native cultural
Yeah, all
diversities
of that.
and all of that.
We're going to get to see some dance, some artwork, check out their houses, and learn about their different skills and their way of life.
Oh, that sounds interesting. Let's get to it.
All right, I'll see you inside.
All right.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So welcome to the Supiak house. In this area of Alaska, they actually had to rely on driftwood. Like I mentioned before, driftwood is not strong and not always a good type of wood to use all the time. So most of the driftwood are actually being mainly used for the structure, while the rest of the house would be underground, usually in the dirt. So around the area, these walls, the planks right there, would have been just dirt. And the next house would, I'll explain more about it, of what they'll use. Above us is the spears. And they do have a poisonous flower they have in Alaska. And when they're going out catching whale, they'll use the flower, a poisonous flower, and they'll mix it with the whale captains that passed away, just to honor the person that passed away. So they'll mix it up, put it on the tip, and they'll actually mosquitoes. They'll actually throw at a whale's tail. They'll throw it at a tail just to disable it from swimming. And you wouldn't actually aim at the meat because, like I said, they did use a type of poison to paralyze it. So you wouldn't want to aim at the meat, or you just wasted the meat inside of it. And the meat in whales could actually last for about months or years. So yes, that's why they kind of make sure they aim at the tail. Those orange bags that you see would usually be made out of seal bladder or organism intestines. Usually, behind you over here would actually be a bleach seal. How they'll bleach it traditionally would actually use little boy's urine for this. Right here is their somewhat style of their clothing. This is not the traditional. This is more like the modern cloth, but they use more like intestines, like from seals or other type of marine animals that they have around their area. This is where they actually kind of have their bathe or like smoke. So when they actually go hunting, they'll lose the human sense of them, the odor on them. What they'll also use when they're going hunting would be these visor hats. So seals, they're actually really curious creatures. So when they see colors on them, they'll actually decide to swim up to you. So while the seal gets curious with colors, you will be actually facing your head down, but it will be enough where you can actually see it when the seal comes to you. Oh yeah. There is a line right there that actually helps them guide them, and for each seal you catch, you put it where your hand is not dominant of each whiskers. This is what they'll basically use. Basically, you know those modern dog toys where all you gotta do is put the ball and just launch it easily and it'll go far? This is basically what they'll use. These are atlatls. These are what help you when you're going to use a spear. And this is like a better way for you when you're on the ocean and when you're going hunting so you won't tip over. I'm gonna put this for now. This is their style of weaving. And it says that they can go to 1,500 to 2,000 stitches per square inches. So they were really good at weaving. And this is incomplete, but it was told that they can actually be able to hold water in it. This is almost the last house you would see. The next house, the Unangan Malong, would be the last house we'll see that has lava rock, the sea oil lamp. So yeah, this is another travel size, and yeah. Here is sea otter. Sea otter has really good fluffy fur. This is actually why the Russians actually decided to stay a little longer because of how soft this fur is. So most of the fur the Russians came over. If you guys ever heard about the fur trade of Alaska, that's basically when the Russians came over, kind of forced the natives to hunt for these. And sea otters, they won't always like hunt for them traditionally. Ever since the Russian forced them, they kind of depleted almost the sea otters. So a lot of the animals were depleted due to the Russians that came over. And ever since the Russians figured out that they were running low, they feared the Great Britain and the U.S. And they decided to like leave. And before they leave, they actually sold it to the U.S. Not a lot of people in the U.S., if you know about this, didn't like that the president bought Alaska. They'll call it different nicknames like Icebox, Frozen Icebox Tundra. Here is a goose wing. Is there any guesses of what they'll use this goose wing for? Sweep? Yes. They'll sweep. But do you know who sweeps? The men. No, not really the men's. Yes, the kids. It'll be the kids' chores, especially of how young and low they can reach the ground easily. So here's their dish style. They actually would put like symbols on it. Like if you look right there, they have a seal, and these seals. This means it holds like either seal oil or it can actually hold seal meat in here.
So typically, like that, the entrance that you just walked in would not be there. This would be like the only entrance that you would enter in and out. This would not. This would be straight up and down vertical. And the reason why like that would not be here is because this house was built underground because of the high winds and stuff. And if you were like either elderly or like sick and you couldn't get up there, they'd make little baskets out of beach dried grass, and they like sew it together and they can pull you up and down and stuff. So yeah, and then like those wood right there, it typically be dirt and not wood because um the wood would be like really special to them, and they like use it for like texture and stuff. So and it was very rare to get wood like that, so they would use like dirt or like beach dry grass on the side.
This house would typically be underground. Especially if you look right there, where that big log is right there around the house. That is how deep they'll be. Yeah. They have about 15 entrances and exits, so you don't have to just deal with one entrance and exit. They'll have these benches around here, around the area surrounding that house. They will actually not sleep on top due to they had to rely on driftwood, and like I mentioned before, from probably two other houses before, driftwood is really weak. So that's why they mainly use it for purpose use. They'll have only these beams just to be there to keep the house up. Right here, they'll actually sleep under these benches, and they'll have their items on top. Their items can be on top because they're not as heavy as people are. In their area, like I mentioned, the ocean is rough, so they have these skinny paddles like this, and their kayaks like those. much more skinnier due to their waves. They actually been able to cut through the waves easily. They use these thin, skinny paddles due to because it will sound like flippers, seal flippers, and when it sounds like seal flippers, it will actually attract other seals too. And when they're going hunting, this is one of their perfect way to hunt because they have these paddles that sounds like seal, and yeah. Over here is a stellar sea lion. This is a fur seal, a harbor seal, and a spotted seal. So this is actually airplane fabric, but traditionally, like I said to some other ones, they'll actually use intestines from seals. Do any of you guys have any questions so far? So the next house that we're going to be seeing would be the southeast house. Why I said the southeast house? Because of there's actually four cultures there. They are also known to be longhouses or clans house. There's times where they live in family size homes or community size. So like I said from the start, I believe all these houses are just a smaller scale of what it would be. So the four cultures that are in this house are the Tlingit, which part of my culture, the Haida, which I'm part of it, Shimshian, and the Iyak culture. So fun fact about the Shimshian, they didn't actually originate from here. They were actually from British Columbia. I'm not good with the name of it, but they were actually kicked out of their land due to religious reason. So when they did move up to Alaska, the Tlingit people, if you actually kind of look over here, the Tlingit kind of actually own most of the land, as you see. They allowed the Shimshian to actually have a piece of their land. So this totem pole has a chief. That chief has 3 rings on the hat. Those 3 rings on the hats represent the successful potlatch that he has served. And he will actually invite other people out of their clans and would give gifts sometimes. And how the chief earned the rings is by how good he was to the clan, to people outside of his clan. Below is the nephew, and the nephew is holding up a part of the box, lifting him up. So nephew, if you guys like to come kind of close, you guys are far away. I don't know why. I don't bite. So traditionally, the nephew wouldn't really be taught by their mothers or fathers that much. They'll still learn some from their mothers and fathers, but they'll typically learn from their uncles and aunties just to learn strictly and just to make sure they're like staying with the right path. So yeah. Below is the bentwood box. Bentwood box, usually when they're on totem poles, represents the knowledge, the box of knowledge. They're also known as bentwood boxes or box of wisdom. Below is the two moieties. Eagle and raven are the two moieties for 3 of these sculptures here. Unlike the Shimshian actually has 4 moieties. They have eagle, raven, and orca and wolf. Below are the children, and they represent the foundation, the future generations. So totem poles can technically be read from bottom to top or top to bottom. So the top and bottom are like kind of the most important part of the totem poles. Is there any question about this totem pole? There's not. This is our carving station. And this is just, like I said, this is actually a smaller scale of it. This would actually be much more larger, and this is where they carve their boats or totem poles. They'll work with copper, because they did have copper mostly for the Tlingit people, since the Tlingit people they live along the Copper River. And how you find copper is by how you find gold. Technically, you just pan it. And copper, you can actually be seen really much more bigger than gold. So there will be bigger pieces there. There is two ways to enter. We have the traditional entrance, and then we have the back entrance. If none of you guys wants to take the front entrance, feel free to follow me. You do have to bend over a bit. This entire house is made by red cedar, yellow cedar, and Sitka spruce. So the red cedar and yellow cedar, they do give in a good sense of smell. So if you kind of sniff around the area, you can actually smell cedar. The red cedar is the roof and the walls. Those are the red cedar. On the floor is the yellow cedar. Totem poles can really be made out of red or yellow, sometimes Sitka spruce cedar or tree. These beams are Sitka spruce, which hold no structural value. They're actually there just to show how strong your clan is. So if you actually really look closely at them, they're not even touching the walls. And the traditional entrance. How many of you guys entered forward? Or who has entered in there? Yeah. So if you all entered forward, there would traditionally be actually two guards. Those two guards would bonk you on the head, and there will be a 50-50 chance you actually survive it. If you were to survive it, you will actually be sleeping around the fire by then, and you'll become their indigenous servant. Indenture. Yeah, I'm still learning some words. Reason why is because it's kind of disrespectful to enter in forward, especially if you're not from that clan. So what they will have, if you were to want to enter there, or if you were invited, you will have to walk in backward due to what I'm wearing. They'll actually have button-up blankets that they'll have, having their family crest on it. Example. The person that last spoken fluency in this language actually has passed away in 2008. So they only recover about 80% of the languages from recordings and other things. So traditionally, they would back then before were forced to learn English a bit. We wouldn't have recorded or put alphabets. We wouldn't have anything to record our language. It would all have been fluency speaking. Nowadays, we are recording, making alphabets, and other things to keep our culture alive. And that's not just for this culture, this is for all the cultures around here in Alaska. So right here, the main figure is Eagle. Eagle has a third eye, for that third eye represents the eye of awareness, seeing the world the way it is. Right here is carrying a copper shield, and this is the bear. This bear is protecting the bentwood box, which is known to be box of wisdom or knowledge. Over here is the Tlingit totem pole. These fishes are salmon. Salmons are really known to be around their area, and that's basically what they mainly hunt. There is different types of salmon, like red salmon, silver salmon, king salmon, and probably two more other fish. Two types of other more salmon right here. Right here is a female. Females would get their chin piercing, while men would get their nose piercing. But men and women, they can actually have either both ways anyway, if it's kind of their choice and of wealth. Right here are the earrings. These are Tanaz copper shields. And fun fact about them is that if anyone was trying to put a curse on you, say if I was trying to put a curse on you and you had Tanaz on, it wouldn't actually just like shield you, it will actually reflect and would hit it back on me. So you basically would Uno reverse card on me, and I'll have to deal with my own curse that I made. Right here is Raven. What Raven is wearing is a chilcock robe. These are really worn by chiefs or any of the people with a lot of wealth in them. This is eagle emerging from raven, watching over the bentwood boxes. Over here is the Haida totem pole. You have eagle and raven. Eagle and raven are actually known as lovebirds too. There is some art designs where if you actually kind of search up not Plinkett, Haida lovebirds, you actually can see there is like heart shapes of eagle and raven together. So they believe in the Haida culture, if you're an eagle, you cannot marry another eagle, but a raven or someone out of your clan. The Shimshian actually has a little more options due to it has four moieties, not just two. So for the Shimshian over there, they actually have eagle, raven, wolf, and orca, like I mentioned outside before. So on the wings, those are the two carvers, is T Young and Joy Young. Above them, in the eagle ear, these are hummingbirds. These hummingbirds represents the children. And the last totem pole over here is the Shimshian totem pole. So the main figure is actually David A. Boxley's son. His son's name is David A. Boxley Jr. And to represent him, his son actually had big hands. So many of these carvers would kind of give in their like own, almost like their own signature into it a bit, having part of it in it. So right here is Raven and Eagle, and they also each of these totem pole has a meaning like respect for family, respect for self, respect for culture, and respect for environment. So these two birds up here, the eagle and raven, are representing respect for the sky. Right here is wolf. He's there as a moiety and also to mean respect for the land. Our last moiety for the Shimshian would be the orca, or also known as the killer whale, and its meaning is to respect for the sea. Yellow cedar, or sometimes just Sitka spruce. But this one is made out of red and yellow cedar. So let's pass this around. Here's our style of basket. This is our weaving basket. This is their style of weaving a bit. I actually did experience making Plinkett bracelets too. So yeah. So to make them, you actually have to make sure you keep it wet too during the process, or it's gonna break. Cedar. Arc. Yeah, so fun fact about the trees, that trees in the southeast could go to 80 to 100 feet tall. So basically, you don't even need this much piece of bark. You can just use that much and pull that up. The reason why you don't really need that much or take that much, so that the cedar bark, the bark can actually regrow again, reproduce, and come back there. So you can just use it like almost every time it grows back eventually. This is their style of boat. They're also known as war canoes. I haven't mentioned, but all these cultures around here, they actually, most of them didn't like each other at all. So there's like a bicker between the Aleutian Chain people and the Southeast people. The Aleutian Chain people didn't really like the Southeast people due to they'll take their war canoes, have a lot of men, sail all the way down to the Aleutian Chain, raid them, head in the boat, head all the way back. There's like something goes a little crazy about like the Athabascans and the Inupiaq. They'll actually go up the hill, down the hill, up the hill, down the hill just to get back to. So they will go all the way there just to raid them and go all the way back. So it's a long, crazy adventure. But this is their style of dish. Right here, those are abalone shells. Abalone shells are really used on button-up blankets like these sometimes. The smaller it is, the more kind of wealth you have, and the harder it is to actually make with these. And the main figure on these are eagle. And this is more like their potlatch dish. So this is actually just a smaller version of it. So this is a start either for a medical bag that they'll have or a chilkat robe. And how they make it is with this animal hide. Are there any guesses of what animal this is? Yes, they'll use mountain goat. I I only ask this because there's people that ask if this is a polar bear. And I was thinking, why would a polar bear be in the most rainy place of Alaska? So in the southeast, it does rain a lot of inches of rain. And about these red cedar, when it does rain, if you kind of look through, you can actually see like cracks. I know there's a bigger, more better example over there to you guys' size, since you guys there's like a lot of spaces. And because it rains so much, the red cedar actually expands and close up the gaps. And it will just keep there to actually help the warmth. If you wonder if they have a fire in here, yes, they'll typically will have a fire, and it will actually be surrounded by gravel and not by wood. Cedars are really known to light up really fast, so if you kind of look, you guys are probably able to actually see it, a burnt spot. So yeah, read from bottom to top or top to bottom. This one is more like reading from the bottom to top. So down here is actually a mama bear, and the mama bear is holding her cubs. Above the cubs and the mama bear is a mid transformation of Raven. If you didn't know, Raven actually has been able to transform into human and back to his own self as a bird. There's actually a story in the gallery called How Raven Stole the Sun. So if you kind of see like some objects where Raven had something in its mouth, it's more like, crows. They actually like to pick up something shiny. Ravens are kind of the same. And before, ravens actually used to have a white coat. And that's part of our story of belief. So, yes, Raven has, due to he kind of tricked the chief, he became a sea plant. The daughter of the chief swallowed it, and since the daughter was going to become pregnant, Raven became the child, and later he became born as a human version of himself. So when I said mid transformation, it means like he's transforming from a human to Raven himself, and above his ears are the children who didn't make it back. So he's flying them up. If there's no other questions, I want to say Guna Cheese Hatiade, meaning thank you for coming. This is kind of more like a Canada Tlingit language that I just kind of speak, since they used to had no borders. But thank you all for coming, and I hope you guys enjoy your time here. The the Hershey Center is a non-profitable organization, so you guys being here supports all us interns and other staffs here. And thank you all for coming. And please feel free to check out the gallery. I'm not good with their native names yet, but I do know the meaning. The gallery's meaning a place to buy. And the cafe, I'm not good with it, like I said, but the meaning is to means I am hungry.